Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take all your source material and turn it into knowledge you can actually use. And today, oh boy, today we are strapping in. We're going for a wild ride into the future. And you, my friend, you have a front row seat. We're talking about the year 2100. Yeah, 2100, a mere 80 years away. Now, I've been spending some time with this book, 2100, A History of the Future. And let me tell you something. It is chock full of mind-blowing predictions. It really makes you kind of stop and think. What kind of worlds are we building for our kids and grandkids, So to help us navigate this journey into the future, I've got expert speaker with me, and we are going to break down the biggest trends. But more importantly, we're going to try to figure out what they might mean for you right here, right now. So are you ready to do this? Let's unpack this future. One of the things that really jumped out at me in this book
was this whole idea of a global power shift. Imagine a world where the products you're buying, the news you consume, even the global order itself is heavily influenced by, wait for it, China. That's the future this book is predicting.
That's right. And in fact, the book argues that we're already seeing the emergence of what they call a multipolar world, where multiple powerful nations are all vying for influence. And China, with its massive economy and these really ambitious projects, things like this One Belt, One Road initiative, China is really positioned to be a dominant force in this new world.
Now, for those who might not be familiar with One Belt, One Road, it's essentially China's plan to create a modern-day Silk Road. So think about it, connecting itself to dozens of countries. Through all these massive infrastructure projects, they're playing the long game. And it's a strategy that could completely reshape global trade, reshape global influence for decades to come. But it's not just about China, is it? The book also talks about this meteoric rise of India.
Absolutely. India, with its enormous population and an increasingly prosperous population, is really becoming a major player on the world stage.
Okay, but here's where I found things really, really interesting. The book argues that the United States, while still a powerful force, let's be real, they're facing some serious headwinds in this new world order that we're talking about. In fact, they even use this term, demographic disadvantage, meaning that the U.S. population is both aging and shrinking compared to those of China and India.
Yeah, and it's not just about population size either. The book also suggests that the growing political polarization that we're seeing within the U.S. could actually hinder its ability to maintain its global leadership role. So we're really talking about a world where the United States may not be the sole superpower that it once was.
So for everyone listening out there, no matter what you do, no matter where you live, this shift in global power dynamics, this is something to pay attention to. Because it could mean more competition for resources, it could mean new alliances being formed, and it could even potentially lead to increased geopolitical instability.
Precisely. This isn't just about politics. It's about really understanding the forces that are going to be shaping our world in the future. And frankly, it's about being prepared to adapt to a much more complex and interconnected future.
And then you've got the European Union. They're trying to hold on, try to stay relevant amidst all of this change. But they're grappling with an aging population as well, and some pretty serious economic challenges. It's almost as if they're caught in the middle of this global tug of war between these established powers like the U.S. and these rising powers like China.
And they're also, as the book points out, really on the front lines of this climate change crisis, something that we're going to delve into a little bit deeper in a moment. But they're facing these challenges of densely populated megacities and this really urgent need for sustainable solutions.
Which actually brings us to the next major theme in our deep dive today, the future of energy and how it will completely reshape our cities. You see, it's not just about politics, folks. It's about the very planet we live on.
This book really doesn't mince words. It basically says that we are on the brink of a major energy revolution. And you listening right now, you're going to be living through it. Think about it. A dramatic shift towards renewable energy sources, solar, wind, even a little bit of a maybe controversial comeback for nuclear power.
Yeah, nuclear has its, baggage for sure. But the author, I gotta say, makes a pretty compelling case for it, almost like this necessary kind of stepping stone on this path to a truly sustainable energy future. And plus, let's be real, there's some seriously cool new technology in the mix. Things like green hydrogen, stuff that just paints a much more optimistic picture than we're used to hearing about when we talk about the future of energy. But it's not just about how we power our homes, is it? This whole energy revolution. It's going to completely transform our cities.
Absolutely. The book does a really great job of painting this vivid picture of megacities, these places that are already bursting at the seams, becoming even larger, even more complex than they are now. Think about a place like Delhi, where pollution and overcrowding are already massive concerns. So how do you sustainably support that many people? I mean, that's the challenge, right?
It's a good thing that this book talks about these futuristic smart cities, because the idea of self-sufficient, eco-friendly urban centers sounds kind of amazing, doesn't it? But even the book acknowledges that there are some pretty massive hurdles that we're going to have to face to try to make that vision a reality, especially when it comes to providing affordable housing, as these populations explode, especially in the developing world.
It's a delicate balancing act for sure. And it kind of leads us to this other layer of complexity, this global sort of technological arms race that's already underway. Whoever controls the technology of tomorrow, they're going to have a lot of say in how this whole future unfolds.
And this is where things get really, really interesting. The book takes this deep dive into the world of rare earth minerals, these kind of obscure elements that most people haven't even heard of, but they're absolutely essential for all of our high-tech gadgets. And guess what? Turns out China pretty much has a monopoly on these resources.
And they know it. The book actually suggests that this control over rare earth minerals could actually become this major source of geopolitical leverage, even potentially conflict. Moving forward, it's a whole new kind of chessboard. And the stakes are very, very high.
Yeah, it's almost like the world's resources are being kind of divvied up all over again. But this time, it's not about oil fields. It's about these elements that power our smartphones and laptops. Speaking of which, the book also delves into this battle for semiconductor supremacy.
Yeah.
Those tiny little chips
Yeah.
that are practically in everything these days.
Yeah, those chips, those are like the brains of all modern technology. And as it stands now, Taiwan is the global leader in semiconductor manufacturing. But the United States is pouring resources, trying to reclaim its dominance in this sector. We're seeing things like government subsidies for domestic chip production. And there's, frankly, a lot of tension with China over the future of Taiwan.
It seems like the book is arguing that this competition, it's about way more than just economics.
Yeah.
It's almost like who gets to control the very building blocks of the future, the technology that's going to shape everything, from artificial intelligence to biotechnology. And speaking of game-changing technology, we can't forget about blockchain.
Which is so fascinating because it's already having a real impact, even if a lot of people don't even fully grasp it yet. We see it with these cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. But the book really suggests that blockchain technology could revolutionize countless industries.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's not just about, geeky computer stuff anymore, but it has these real-world applications that could impact every single person listening to this.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example? Like, how could blockchain touch my life directly?
Imagine a world where you could track your food from the farm to the table. So you can ensure its safety, its authenticity, or what about this? Medical records stored securely and privately on a blockchain. So you have complete control over your own health data. That's the kind of future that blockchain could enable.
And then you've got the metaverse, this immersive virtual world that everybody's talking about. I'll admit, that's the part of the book I think I'm still wrapping my head around.
It can feel very sci-fi. But the book does a good job of presenting the metaverse, not just as this passing fad, but as a potential paradigm shift in how we work, how we play, how we even interact with each other. And what I think is really fascinating is how the author connects the metaverse to this technological arms race that we've been discussing. It's almost like whoever controls this virtual space, whoever controls the technology that powers it, the experiences within it, they could wield an enormous amount of influence in shaping the future of society itself.
So we've covered massive power shifts. We've covered an energy revolution. We're talking about technologies that could completely redefine reality as we know it. But the book doesn't stop there, does it?
Mm-hmm.
It also tries to tackle this really big question. What does all of this mean for humanity itself? It's like all these big changes, all these technological leaps, they're leading us to this point, this turning point for humanity. You know what I mean?
It's true. And the book really digs into that. It tackles these huge, like almost overwhelming trends. We're talking aging populations all over the world, the rise of AI, even this idea, this possibility that we could extend our lifespans through bioengineering.
Okay, hold on. Altering, like literally altering what it means to be human. That's getting pretty deep pretty fast. Can you give me an example? Like, how are we talking about changing what it means to be human?
Think about CRISPR, right? CRISPR gene editing. It's already being used to cure diseases. That's amazing. But what happens when we can use it to, enhance human capabilities? Or think about nanotechnology, these tiny little machines that can go in and repair your body from the inside out. And then there are bionic implants. Stuff that could give people superhuman strength, superhuman senses. This isn't science fiction anymore. This is stuff that could happen in our lifetime.
I got to say that's both like super exciting and also a little bit, terrifying. I mean, we could be talking about a future where humans can do things we can't even imagine. But like any technology, any powerful technology, I guess there's always a flip side, right?
Yeah.
What about the risks? The book talks about those too, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It brings up some serious ethical questions like, what if these life-extending technologies, what if only rich people can afford them? Do we end up with a world where you've got the enhanced and the unenhanced? And then there's AI, right? Artificial intelligence. What happens if it gets so smart, so powerful that it surpasses human intelligence? What if it starts making decisions for us or even, controlling us?
It's like that old sci-fi fear, the robots taking over. But the book is saying this isn't just like a movie plot anymore. These are real challenges, and we need to be thinking about now.
Exactly. We can't wait. The decisions we're making today about how we develop this tech, how we use it, those decisions will have consequences for, forever. We can't just focus on the cool stuff, the exciting possibilities. We got to think about the risks, the what-ifs. We need safeguards, ways to make sure things don't get out of control.
So, okay, so let's bring this home for a second. For everyone listening, this future we're talking about, it's coming fast. What can we do today, to get ready for this world, a world of shifting power, crazy new technology, maybe even a whole new definition of what it means to be human?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I think the book actually offers some good advice. First of all, knowledge is power, right? The more you understand about what's happening in the world, the forces at play, the better you'll be able to navigate all this change, to make smart decisions for yourself, for your family.
So it's not just about, keeping up with the latest gadget. It's about understanding the bigger picture, the context, and thinking about where all this might be headed.
Exactly. And you got to be ready to keep learning your whole life. Because what's valuable today, those skills, that knowledge, might be useless tomorrow. You got to be able to adapt, be curious, keep growing.
So it's not just what you know, it's how you think, how you learn.
And honestly, I think it's also about being a good citizen, being involved. The future isn't something that just happens to you. We create it through the choices we make, the things we do, the things we don't do, whether supporting green technology, speaking up for ethical AI, or even just staying informed about all this stuff. We all have a part to play in shaping the future.
I love that it's like a call to action. Don't get overwhelmed by all the craziness. Remember, you have a voice, you have choices, and those choices matter. They shape the world of tomorrow.
100%. That's what makes this so important to talk about. It's not just predicting the future, it's understanding the possibilities and taking responsibility for creating a good future for ourselves and for everyone who comes after us.
Well said. Well said. We have covered a lot today, from global power struggles to tech that's straight out of science fiction. And we even talked about what it means to be human in this crazy, constantly changing world.
It's been great exploring all this with you.
The book, 2100, A History of the Future, it really gave us a lot to think about. If you're out there listening and you want to learn more, I highly recommend checking it out. And with that, we are going to wrap up this deep dive into the future. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep your eyes on the horizon. You never know what's coming next.